Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Millennium Dawn with me, Alpha Pi Omega, and Ukraine. So, the date is 6th of September 2000. This is the first update on our development, and I do remember that I wanted to do the first update in December, but something came up, and that something is the event that we didn't have before called Deal with Gongadze. One of the anti-government journalists, Gongadze, has recently actively been opposing the current government, making a loud statement towards the Leonid Kuchma and his entourage. Gongadze is mostly known for his founding of Ukrainska Pravda in 2000. The newspaper covered many of the hottest topics in Ukraine at the time. However, the alarming part of this newspaper is that he reported on high-level corruption to the highest offices in Ukraine. There must be some decision we should make, as this is still a heavy issue within the country. How should we proceed? So we can either stop him, that would give us the event called Cassette Scandal, or it's just journalism, get event publishing of anti-government news. Now, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this when I was speaking in the previous playthrough about the corruption in Ukraine. Georgy Gongadze was found dead on 17th of September 2000. He was violently murdered and doused in acid, if I remember correctly. It was really hard to even identify the poor man. And even though he was awarded a Heroes Medal in 2005, that can hardly rectify the politically oriented murder that he was the victim of. Now, this whole thing is more alarming because the President Leonid Kuchma was accused of being the direct participant in the murder by his involvement. I mean that he ordered that murder, and I believe that he was even eventually charged with it by some of the courts in Ukraine. Though, if you want to read about it, I don't want to spread false news. You can find the Cassette Scandal or Georgy Gongadze on Wikipedia. It's actually a pretty gruesome read. I'll put it in the description if I don't forget, because he deserves to be remembered. People like this are really needed everywhere. So, I guess by stopping him, we would murder him, which we're not gonna do. So let's go with, it's just the journalism, though I'm pretty sure that's gonna give us a heavy hit to our stability or something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know. We didn't have that event before. The reason why we got it is because we probably have Leonid Kuchma still in the government in September. I'm just finishing or just working on the results. I'm going to explain myself in just a second, so bear with me here. I just wanted to show that event first because that was the trigger of why I started recording. Okay, so what have I done? There's a number of things that I actually changed as opposed to the first episode where I said a number of things that I quickly decided on not doing, which is the beauty of Let's Play, because you record something, you upload it, and then immediately you realize that you're mistaken. And I never try to cover my tracks. I always enjoy the losses I take. So this will be a lesson to myself, and you can learn from me, hopefully. So anyway, what's different? Well, I'm going to go back to the first episode in that I spoke a bit about the industry. And I actually had to backtrack into the last episode of the previous Let's Play, where I posted the statistic because something seemed off. And it is. In the previous version, Ukraine started with 6 civilian factories and 7 military factories. So it actually had more military than civilian factories. In this version, we start with 8 civilian factories, which means we started with 2 more, but we actually started with only 3 military factories, meaning we have 4 less. So while we have 2 net gain in civilian, we have 4 net loss in military, which was a heavy hit, especially considering the fact that most of our factories are unavailable. At this point we have 14 available. I've done quite a lot of work in that area. You can see that we started with 6. So, oh no, actually we started with 8, pardon me. So we have 6 more available at this point, and we're able to use only 6. This is due to corruption, taxation, and other things, but it was my goal to increase that as much as possible because it became even more pressing when I realized how bad we are off in the military production. Now I can only hope that Russia had a similar fate, because if it didn't, then oh my god. Like, really, oh my god, we would be so screwed. But again, I'm not gonna cheat, I'm not gonna check. This is just what I found. So that informed my actions, because originally I actually wanted to follow the previous route of going people's referendum, the results, our identity, pro-Ukraine parties, then do the necessary changes, and then move to industry. But I quickly realized after I investigated the research that there's nothing really stopping us from going directly for the 4th research slot. So I thought about it, and I'll calculate it on my papers here that I have at the table, quite many routes that we could take. And in all of them, it seemed that the best solution is to start with industrialization, get that extra civilian industry, then by the bully go with automobile industry, which on the other hand still gives us a 20% industry, civilian industry construction speed, which is not bad. It's not an immediate bonus, but long term it's going to benefit us greatly. And then go with the car production licenses, which give us 2 extra off-map civilian industries and the research swap. So I started with that. And once I was done with that, I went with the people's referendum, which we finished just a few days ago, and then with the results. This, however, meant that we still have Leonid Kuchma as a president, with the oligarchs as the ruling party at this point, which I guess is what triggered the event that you just saw a couple of minutes ago. So that's why I think we didn't get that before, because by this time we were already well into pro-Ukraine parties. Now we should still be able to do that. Once we get the results, I'm going to go with our identity, then the pro-Ukraine parties, then I will found the NABU, the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, then go with the judiciary system reform and police reform, and then we're going to go with the anti-corruption action plan, dealing with the oligarchs, and then the economic recovery program, which will give us 2 extra civilian industries. And I think that might be it for then, because none of these are actually really that good. Now I might go with fighting against the bureaucracy, because that's going to give us extra political power and extra bonuses. That's always good. But we'll see if I won't rather go, for example, with the education reform, investing in national academy, because that gives you also quite a lot of bonuses and leads to the 10% boost to research. So scientific advances and extra 5% additional in scientific advances. Now I could also, and that's one of the papers here, go with the lessons of the Tuzla conflict, then founding of the Ukroboronprom. Yeah, okay, I said it correctly. Ukroboronprom. And then there is the possibility to go after the 5th research slot. Now, while this is a big priority, they still didn't change the naval dockyards, which need to be 5. And they actually further in what do you say then? They added the insult to the injury. Unless I am missing something here, which I think I'm not. Yeah, the Ukrainian Navy adds 1 naval yard to both Odessa and Zaporozhye, meaning we will end up with 4. And I really haven't checked that, and I might want it to, but we actually have only 2 dockyards here, which means we add another 2, meaning we are missing 2 more. So I will need to build 2 more naval dockyards to be able to unlock the 5th research tree. And if you remember, these are the most expensive ones. So I'm not gonna do that at any time soon, because that's just too much of a heavy burden on the industry. And I really want to stress the fact that this is a rolling snowball. If we get 6 here, the 7th will be easier, the 8th will be easier, the 9th, and the longer we go with that, the better we are. Now, at some point we are gonna go for it, but first we really need to reform our government. Remember, this increases stability, gives you bonuses to monthly population and stuff like that, encryption. It lowers, it increases the construction speed and stuff like that. So that is really the important part right now. Okay, with that said, that is the politics. Now, what did I do with the research? Well, we now have the 4th research slot. We got it just a few days ago, and these are the technologies that we are working on. Now, we get construction 1. We already are at almost 40%, which is going well, I guess. We're working on the industrial electrospun polymeric nanofibers as well. But right after I ended the episode, I actually decided that instead of going with the oil, because we really don't need it right now, we're going to go with the microprocessors, which will increase the military industry output by 15% and give us 5% extra to the research speed. And it's kind of funny, because once I did the change, I went to YouTube, and this was one of the first one of the first comments that I got, that I should do this. So yeah, hive mind, thank you for that. But I figured it at the very same time, because yeah, this goes to another thing that I did. I started doing the drills. The armies have drilled, and they drilled so long that we actually ran out of weapons and the CNC equipment and even the man pads and ATGM. So we pretty much bled ourselves dry, but we got some really good army experience out of that, and it allowed us to actually, by the September, have an almost fully fielded officer corps, at least for the army. What I mean by that, we have Serhii Shaptala, we have Vasil Zubanic, and we have Mikhail Zabrodsky as our officer corps, and we are now preparing to get the chief of the army, which will be Viktor Mushchenko, who is also the general of the 1st Army Group. Now, he's going to give us additional army experience of 0.07 daily, and while he reduces division attack, he's going to increase our division defense by 10%, which I think is pretty good, because elastic defense will be what we will be going for here. I was already also able to get the Art of War, which lowers the land doctrine cost by 10%. Now, most of these other well, what do I even call them? Like, they call them the spirit of the academy, but I guess it would be like army traits, are not that good, because they just add abilities or possible abilities to your generals, or they modify the experience gain in the actual war, which is way too late for us. Well, this one actually lowers the cost of land defense doctrines, meaning that they now all cost only 90, which is a huge benefit, because for each one of these, well, actually for 9 of these, we can get the 10th for free, basically. And that is quite a big difference. So let me take a sip of my tea and continue. Now, as I mentioned, we are getting quite a lot of experience daily from these guys, so we no longer have to drill, and we already have a daily gain of 0.25 army experience, which is good. Every 4 days we get 1 point, meaning that we will be able to get pretty much a doctrine per year. If I'm 365, yeah, we can now get a doctrine per year, meaning that in 10 years we should be okay with 10 doctrines. Now we need to reform the army. That is a given, but this is huge. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with the fact how our Army Corps is. We're also pretty good on the Navy experience. I haven't really investigated their traits, but I'm expecting that it's going to be the same thing. I focus pretty much on the Army, while we have... I don't think the Navy is still drilling. No, it is still drilling. The Navy is still drilling. It's consuming fuel, but it's consuming less of it than we are producing. And actually, just the Army alone is not producing more fuel than we are producing. So I could have let them on the drills for about half a year before we actually started running out of supplies. So that's good news. That is good news. And this is also pretty good. We're getting 0.28 naval exercises from the naval exercises per day. Once I'm happy with this, actually, I think I'm gonna start investing in those doctrines pretty soon. But I think we could just... Oh, those cost 50 and this one costs 75. Is it the same? Yeah, okay. So this one is the cheapest one. I'll need to go through these and decide. There might be some interesting things in them. I haven't really checked. But again, the naval doctrines, we'll be able to get them as we go. Okay, so with that said, once I'm happy with this being done, I'll actually start throwing my air points against the wall in hopes for experience. What I mean by that, well, we're not using the fuel at all. Like, it's sitting in our stockpile doing nothing. And I know that most of these aged aircraft and airplanes are just completely useless for us in the end. So why not just take the useless old strategic bombers and useless old, I don't know, anything that we have here, or the transport airplanes that we will never use, and just let them indefinitely fly around Ukraine, drilling our pilots and giving us air experience. I might actually start doing that right after I end this episode, thinking about it, because we're not using even half of the current daily production of fuel. So this way we would get extra air experience as well, and we can just put that immediately in the Air Force. So they got only 2 traits, and I'm pretty sure, well, the air superiority would be definitely good. Escort efficiency, yeah, I can already tell you that I'm gonna go for the massed strike. And here, anything, air advisor cost. Is this the air advisor? No, it's Chief of Air Force. Air wing training experience gain. Those are researches. We might go for all helicopter research speeds. Is there White Strike Fighters? We said that we might want to go with Motorola, but these are carriers, so again, I don't see anything. Motorola Fighter, yeah, we might go with something like ground element destruction, I guess, because there's no fighter bonus here. Yep, so we would just go with the Motorola, and that would also pretty much dictate our research as we go. But okay, we have the 4 slots, which is a good thing. Last, before I move away from the research and away from the military, I actually wanted to note that it might be just my feeling, but I think that they increased the cost of research dramatically. When you look at everything, it's like 800 days, 803. Remember, the oil is like 1,006 days. And even the regular infantry tech, when you look at that, it's 500 days. I know that we had some bonuses at work, but was it really that expensive in the beginning? I don't remember. Or expensive, lengthy, more like 503 days. Well, I guess we have a huge penalty from... Oh god, we even have the kleptocracy, I forgot about it. With the ineffective government, where we are having, what, 15% research? No, there's actually nothing there. Okay, but the neglect, no, that's the state interest. I know there was a problem with inefficient, there was something, here it is, neglected education. Okay, that's 10%. So if you remove that and add all the bonuses and that, yeah, it would, I guess it would be that way. Because we were pretty much able to shave like 1/3 off it. I I guess. But it's a pain seeing these huge costs. That's just awful. Okay, so we covered military, or the chief of staff. I covered the research. I covered the focuses. So what is there? What does that say? Oh, one thing. Russia immediately after the start offered us to build a civilian industry in Bukovina. So I said yes. And again, this one takes way longer than it used to. It started on, I think, like 600 days. So, well, anyway, thank you for that. We're going to use it against you. We have also on 12th of January, right when we had the choice, recognize the Republic of China. So I wanted to mention that. And, oh yeah, one news from the world. South Sudan has been annexed by Sudan in this playthrough. I believe that in the previous one it was the other way around. And I'm kind of interested in the fact also that the war between Eritrea and Ethiopia hasn't ended yet. There is a war raging still. I'm pretty sure that it was over by this time, both historically and in the previous playthrough. And I have to mention also that they're making quite a lot of headway. Well, actually they don't. They lost one and gained one. No, actually they lost one but gained 3. Damn, Eritrea, chill. We might need the Ethiopia down the line. Oh my god, and what is going on here? Congo Democrat. Oh dear lord, I haven't checked that. I guess they remodeled the Congolese war? Holy hell. I completely ignored that while focusing purely on Ukraine. What is this? Rally for Congolese democracy? Yeah, I know it was a mess, but I don't believe it was this much of a mess. Jesus Christ. And these dark ones? Under control Rwanda. That's just... Ah, okay, Rwanda is actually controlling these. Damn. Okay, well, never mind. That is a mess. That is a mess. No wonder some of you suggested that I play in there, because this would be... That would be a challenge for any guy who wants to play as a military commander. Damn. Okay, so I think we're done here. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in just a couple of minutes with another update. I hope I'm not gonna discover anything else that I screwed up in the beginning. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. Yeah, you're coming next. Okay, the date is 20th of January 2001, and we have just finished the pro-Ukraine party's focus, and now we need to decide which one we're gonna go with next. Now, this also means that we have Petro Poroshenko as our leader, and the ruling party has been changed from oligarchs to a coalition of SPU and Freedom, which is great. You know, that's the first step. But I actually have other news that are not that good. The game has been hitting us with a number of bad events, meaning that our chance of revolt has been constantly increasing. Now, the pro-Ukraine parties lowered it by 3, but if you check, we now have 11, meaning we had 14 right before that, which is something that I also completely missed until I checked it before I started recording. So, yeah, not great. I have no idea what happens if the revolution triggers, what kind of things will start happening, but I guess that's when the stability of the regime will come into play. So hopefully 45 is not as low as it could be. But the good news is that our stability has jumped up to 50, because it was as low as 38 before I got this event. I actually think that it might have a lot of hidden... I don't know, the stability should trickle to around 50, but there might be some hidden effects that I am not seeing here. Because again, before we got that, we had 38, now we have 50. Okay, fine, I don't have a problem with that. So which one are we going with next? I think the Naboo is the right one, because that will start removing the ineffective government, and it's going to replace the rampant corruption with unrestrained corruption, so that is super important for us. So let's get the Nabu. I think that is the Revolution of the Dignity. Yeah, that's not going to help us with anything, and I don't think there's anything else here that we really want right now. Well, I'm looking at the extra military industry here with lust in my eyes, but I really think the Nabu is the one that we need the most, because we need to kill the corruption. So getting these, this one, then these two, and then going with the anti-corruption action is our top priority. Plus, it's going to give us a huge boost to our efficiency, which is far from ideal. We have zero construction, and I mean zero. Right after I stopped recording, at the previous part, before I jumped into this part, the game has just decided no more factories for you and just killed me. We have 5 civilian factories, and all of them are used for tax cost. We actually would need 6. And I know that if I get these decisions, meaning if I pay for extra factories and the industrial projects, it's not going to help. How do I know that? Because I've done that, and it just jumped to, same equivalent. So we suddenly had 8, and the tax cost was 8. So it didn't do anything for us at all. So no production as far as construction goes, and almost no production here as far as military production goes. So that is just great. The game has decided to take its gloves off and started punching me right in the face. Cool. Anyway, moving on. This is hell, by the way. This is really hell. Moving on, let's look at our next steps. So as I mentioned, we're gonna get the Nabu and go through this. Each one of these gives us a tick of stability, a tick of construction speed, a tick of production efficiency, and lowers the cost to chance corruption, or some of these. All of them do. Awesome. So if we get these 4, or these 3, that lowers the cost to change corruption by 75%. Okay, there's another 25, there's another 25. I don't know what the actual modifier right now is, but we are at 750. Okay, no, so we have extra 100 from ineffective government. So once we get 4, this is removed, and we can't go any lower, I guess. So we will get to something like 325, something like that. And the kleptocracy will go away eventually as well. The oligarchs will need to remove manual, which is super expensive, but I guess before that we'll get from rampant corruption to systematic corruption. I can then take it one step further with widespread if I save a bit of political power, and we'll be on our way. Now the stability, production cost, output, all will go up, hopefully. Okay, so that was one thing that I wanted to speak about, and the second thing that I actually wanted to speak about was the officer corps, because you can see that we are almost done here. The only one we're missing at this point is the Chief of Air Force, which will be done soon. We're actually heading there right now. In a couple of days we'll be able to take the Chief of Air Force, and then we're done here, and I can start throwing this into corruption. We've taken our... haven't we? Oh, we haven't. Okay, now I remember. Sorry. I wanted to say that we've taken our first naval doctrine, but we didn't, because we took these 2 decisions. I decided that we're going to take the rule of waves, which lowers the naval doctrine cost by 10%. And then when I was about to take a doctrine, I checked the second tier of ideas, which are called Spirit of the Navy, and I took Jean Le Collet. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that gives you various boosts to your destroyer. Design cost, reset speed, and again, design cost of the Stealth Destroyer. Because I think that we can go up and have a fleet of destroyers, frigates, and corvettes. They're not going to be anything major, but unless Russia moves in their major navies in, I think we can fight them in here. I don't know what kind of fleets they have in the Black Sea area, but this is, I guess, doable if we take this reasonably and prepare adequately. Yeah, we would have to take something like close combat or surface radars. Is that anything? I'm not really using torpedoes or anything. Efficient communication. Positioning would be good. So maybe we take something like positioning plus 15% and then start getting the naval doctrines. But we'll have to see. This is all really new. And I am not an expert on naval combat, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to play the Japan in the Black Ice, as I mentioned before, because that would really force me to learn it and test it and fail at it and learn even more through that. So for smaller ships, I know positioning is pretty damn important, and the screen attack 5% would be pretty good. The retreat chance, I'm not sure if that would be useful for us. We can just sink ships, or maybe the Bureau of Ordnance, and we could just put a lot of torpedoes on our ships. That's also a viable option. Well, okay, enough brainstorming. I'll deal with that later. So yeah, with all of that said, I think we're done here. Last two things. Our budget is sinking like a rock. There's not much I can do with it at this point. Hopefully the corruption and everything will start going away, and that's going to help with the income. I'm really hopeful that's going to save us at least somehow. Hopeful I am as well for the increase in production, because without construction this is just game over. So I'm not sure how and when this will reset, but hopefully we can. There's not much I can do with it otherwise. And last but not least, we were hit with the effect of our choice, and you can see it here. Ukrainskaya Pravda. By the way, they have either typo here, or they had the typo in the previous event, because it was Pravda written there. And I was thinking, maybe it's Pravda, because the same language is in my own language, my native language Czech, and it's Pravda, which means truth. So either there or here there's a typo. Ukrainian Truth, a popular Ukrainian online newspaper founded by Georgy Gongadze. Ukrainian Truth investigates and publishes the materials on corruption or unethical conduct of or related to Ukrainian politicians from all political camps. So this is not that major. We have a little bit of daily non-aligned support loss and a little loss of daily political bargain. But that's a small thing to pay for not murdering an innocent news reporter. So I'll gladly take that. Okay, and I guess that is it. That is the update for now. In the next episode, I'll probably come back at the end of the year 2001, showing you how we moved. If we moved at all, we should be done with most of these reforms and probably either doing the deal with oligarchs or maybe even the economic recovery program. We need those civilian industries so bad. So bad, but we'll see how far we'll be. I'm hopeful that by that time we'll also be able to already take the rampant corruption to at least either widespread or even maybe I could be hopeful, to medium corruption. So we're gonna see. Anyway, and by the way, just for your viewing pleasure, the old bombers of the Soviet era are now in operation, giving us daily experience. It's not much, but it's as much as we can pay for with the fuel they're consuming. It's just insane. And Navy is also drilling. They can drill pretty much all the time. They seem to be cool with it, so I'm just letting them run this. Once we run out of fuel, I'm gonna stop everything and let it recharge and then do it the same. Did we already lose some airplanes? That would be a nice little tidbit for the end. It does not seem so. Well, good for us. Anyway, thank you for joining me. See you then. This way we look like the essential, I would even say, part of Europe, don't we? It's kind of nice. That is kind of nice.